So Matt, I'll start with you, and if you could give us your assessment of what's happening on the front lines in Ukraine. Let's get started with that.
Sure, Jim. There's just no denying right now that the situation on the front lines in Ukraine it's hard. It's maybe as hard as it's ever been since the darkest days during the initial months of the fighting. And unfortunately, the conditions are only getting harder as well for the Ukrainians. They're experiencing shell shortages, ammunition rationing. They've got equipment shortages. It's just tough to get everything that they need when they need it in the amounts that they need in order to do the most fighting that they need to do.
I was first on the ground in eastern Poland about 96 hours after the full-scale invasion happened. So several things have changed from then until now, but I'll just highlight a few. First, I think, is the Western understanding of Ukrainian capabilities. As many of you may remember, there were many experts who were predicting that Kyiv would fall within days and that the Russian military would conquer all of Ukraine within a few weeks. So this may feel like an obvious observation to make nearly 2 years on, but when I first arrived in Eastern Poland, it truly felt day by day. And that's one reason why Spirit of America was such a lifeline for our U.S. military partners, because we began providing aid immediately, not weeks or months after the full-scale invasion. Another difference is just the amount of U.S. government and Western aid. So when I first arrived in February 2022, U.S. military aid was just beginning to arrive and being flown into Poland. So throughout the entire conflict, U.S. and allied aid has, of course, focused on providing lethal aid. And there continues to be huge gaps of non-lethal aid, which we provide and continue to invest in these programs. So, however, on this trip, we heard repeatedly from our U.S. Special Forces partners that their Ukrainian counterparts are low on aid and having to ration their ammunition. And they specifically mentioned a lack of artillery and a lack of air defense. So quite frankly, their assessments are that U.S. and allied aid is not arriving fast enough and not in large enough quantities.
So 99% of what Spirit of America has done in Ukraine this year has been working hand in hand with U.S. troops to provide the kind of assistance Matt and Colleen just talked about to help Ukraine win. UActive is the other 1%. So we met the UActive students in the classroom that you see here, and they told us the Russians had used it for interrogations. No one said much about what that really meant, what happened in that room, but the students were really proud they had transformed it into the school STEM classroom. You can see little pictures of rulers and beakers and so forth on the drawings and everything. It was cheerful and bright. And so some of the kids talked about how Russian snipers had taken aim at them when the kids ventured outside their homes during the occupation. Bodana and the other kids here were very fortunate. They had survived the occupation and thus far had survived the war. Bodana was shy. She was the last one to speak. But when she started, it was just great. She really lit up. And she said that Spirit of America had inspired her. And so we said, well, why? How'd that happen? And she explained that UActive showed her that an ordinary girl from a small village in Ukraine, like her, could do something important to help her country at its time of greatest need. And it was, for all of us, it was just like a powerful moment we'll never forget. So to understand what's at stake now with Ukraine and Russia's war in Ukraine, we just need to imagine what the world would be like if we had lost World War II. And if we hand Putin a victory, we'll live with the consequences for generations. And all of us know, Matt and Colleen, as veterans, especially the other veterans on our team, but the whole team at Spirit of America, we deal with these things in practical ways all the time, these challenges, and we understand they can seem overwhelming, and that America has plenty of problems and it's hard to know what to do about them. But it's important to remember that America doesn't stand for perfection. It stands for something even better. And it's the efforts of citizens like all of us to make things better, to strive for that improvement, living up to our ideals. Because government can't do it alone. None of us can do it alone. But if each of us does our part, united, we can. So you can be confident that at Spirit America, we are going to do our very best to do our part. And for everyone here, now is the time to lean forward and do your part.